Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, we could really use your help. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, recently named the Too Opinionated podcast one of its top 100 podcasts. This is a monumental feat for this program. You know, we're a father and son team out of a small town in West Virginia, have been doing this for about 5 years. There's 15 million podcasts out there. About 40,000 of those get to the point that they're listed on IMDb. Out of those 40,000 out of the 15 million, we were ranked number 82. Something that we're just immensely proud of. We're so thankful for our listeners, our watchers, our fans. Thank you so, so much. If you would like to help us out, and we're asking for it, please. It's easy. It's really easy. It's free. If you go to IMDb, that's imdb.com, look up Too Opinionated Podcast, and just take a look at the page. That's all you have to do. I mean, you're welcome to look at the cast, look at the episodes so you can kind of see who's been on the program. Do whatever you want. But even just bringing up the page, imdb.com, Too Opinionated Podcast, bring up the page, look at it. That helps us so much. So please, if you can do anything, we would really appreciate that. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Love to have your subscription there. It's also free. And you can also check out our website, meistercon.com, where you'll find almost 700 episodes, audio and video, available on there. There's also a terrific blog from Brett, and it'll let you know anything that we have going on in studio, if we're covering a convention, if we're going on location, anything that we have going on will be on the website, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so, so much. We appreciate you so much. I can't express enough how appreciative we are of all of you. We never expected to do as well as we have, and that's all because of you. Thank you so much. Enjoy that interview. Bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got singer, songwriter, actress Anne Stott with me. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm really excited to be here.
I know we've been talking for like 10 minutes off camera, and I was like, well, maybe we should do the interview.
maybe we could, anytime. We are warmed up, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, isn't it better that way? Who wants to jump right in? That's hard to do.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. It's tough. I watch like if you watch the news shows, when they bring somebody on camera, it's hard on them just jumping straight into the conversation, which is what they have to do.
Which is what they have to do. I have to say, you're very friendly, which makes this way less nerve-wracking than it could be. But
it'd be a different show if I just came on here and started lobbing insults at you.
It's true. Although now I have a question for you, which I don't think this is how it's supposed to go. So you're so friendly and enthusiastic, and then your show is called Too Opinionated. And
it doesn't really work, right?
No, I think it can all work. I think you can embrace the whole range, but I'm just curious.
Well, there's a story behind it.
There is.
But the idea originally, it was my son's idea for the podcast. He figured out really early he doesn't like to be on camera, which was fine. That we just pivoted to, because I found out that I kind of like being on camera, so we pivoted to interviews. Originally, it was just me and him. And the thought was that we would have this generational difference of opinion. So it'd be too opinionated about, the father-son thing. But then it turned out most of our opinions are the same. So we might be too opinionated about it, but it's the same opinion. So the arguing that we had anticipated didn't really happen. But
there wasn't a lot of drama. You were like, I like Coke versus Pepsi. And he was like, I like Coke versus Pepsi too. And then you were like, huh, cool. Okay. What do we talk about now? Kind of thing.
Yeah, that was kind of it. And then he didn't really want to be on camera. I kind of enjoyed it. So we just pivoted to interviews, and that's when the show took off. So
that's so cool.
Like, well, we'll just keep the name now. So there you go.
I love the name. I am very opinionated. And when I've mentioned like to my girlfriend or friends, like, oh, I'm going on this podcast called Too Opinionated, everybody bursts out laughing. So
they're like, oh, you found your home.
basically, yeah.
Well, saying let's start this way, because I think your background's kind of interesting because you're doing music and acting. You know, what got you interested? What made you want to go into the entertainment business? That's a difficult business. So, kind of talk through what got you into it.
Well, music and theater and movies were my first love. Like that was all I was interested in as a kid. And I liked riding horses too. But I was pretty obsessed my whole childhood. And then in my 20s, I made an effort at finding some kind of respectable version of employment, and but the whole time really frustrated, like, wait, shouldn't I be doing something? Don't I love doing something? And then in my late 20s, I came back to making music, and I hadn't written as a child or as a teenager, but when I started singing again in my late 20s, I was like, oh, I'm going to be writing. Like, I just knew somehow, like, I'm writing songs. And then for a bunch of years, I was pretty focused just on the music. And then a friend who's a director cast me in a play. And I was like, oh, right, I loved this, but I can be very, along with being opinionated, I can be opinionated about my life. Like, no, I'm songwriting. I've got to focus. This was a good experience. But over time, it kept coming up, and I've come to embrace that, the two different creative outlets actually feed each other, even though technically one takes time away from the other, but the work I do when I'm acting and when I'm telling somebody else's story actually ends up helping me find pieces of myself that I might not have otherwise explored, that I then get to bring back to the song.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Have you got to sing while acting?
A couple of times here on the Cape. So I was in a musical called Nevermore, based on Edgar Allan Poe's life. I actually played his prostitute. I didn't even have a name. My name was The Whore, which I kind of loved, actually.
Terrible.
It is, but she was a very powerful character. She was the one who got to kind of speak the truth and talk back to him and stuff. So her character was really, really strong. And then I also was in the musical Fun Home, which is based on the graphic novel by Alison Bechdel. It was on Broadway.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic. And I was in it actually before the pandemic out here. So I got to play in the play, Alison Bechdel is 3 different ages. There's a 12-year-old Allison and a like early college Allison, and then the like 40-something Allison writing her story like as the play's happening. And I played the adult Allison.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. I'm so happy that I
mean, there should be room to act and to sing both.
Absolutely. And I do think now, when I was growing up, musicals were all it felt like they were a very specific thing. Like, yes, there was Hair and Jesus Christ Superstar, but mostly they were a certain kind of music. And I'm not trained on that level. You know what I mean? Like I could, hide away for 6 months and I have a soprano range, but I'm not ready to roll with a lot of the sort of canon of American musicals. But I think now people are writing musicals in a lot of different styles.
Yeah, they really are.
They really are. And it's cool to do. It's really cool to do.
Would you ever try to write your own theater production?
Good question. Well, I did write like a cabaret kind of show that was scripted. It wasn't a narrative with other characters. It was me doing the storytelling, but I did script a night called Scorpio Blonde, which I've performed a couple of times. But I haven't done anything like that in a while. But now that you're asking, who knows what's going to happen, Michael?
That's how it works, right? You got
This is actually how these things happen. Like, well, I was on this podcast and I was asked about it, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it, and then I realized that, you know, that's how it happens.
Yeah, that's the influence that I bring.
Well, if the musical happens, you get front row seats to opening night, Michael.
That's all I ask. You know, just an aisle seat in the front row. That's all I need.
You know, it's not a lot to ask in life, really, is it?
No, I don't think so. It's the little things.
You know what? It really is the little things. It really is.
Listening to your music and I love your voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It really
reminds me, and I'm terrible artistic wise, so I never do a good job explaining, but it really does remind me of the songs I listened to growing up, like in the 80s and the 90s. And I don't know why, but it has that kind of, I don't know, kind of the hook to the music reminds me of when I was listening to music back then. Does that make any sense?
It does, especially, I mean, I'm not sure if you've been listening to the new songs, definitely, like, I think we were trying to like bring our own take on like all 80s pop and 90s grunge together.
Well, that's kind of the feeling I have. That's why I said 80s and 90s, because some of the songs definitely an 80s vibe, but some of them were yeah, they're more grungy.
Yeah, I feel like I have like a kind of like these different sound experiences that I really like. So I really like a grungy, growly guitar.
Well, you've got a good voice for that type of music, I think.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, it plays well with that.
Oh, good. Oh, that's nice to hear. And then, but I also like things that are more sort of atmospheric or dreamlike or expansive in their sounds. And then I have a quirkier side. I just don't, I really like to, you know, I think there's some songwriters who like write quirkier things, but they assume that's not for the album or whatever. And I just don't feel that way. Like, I don't understand, like, why not? Why isn't that for the album?
Yeah, why not? If it's good, it's good.
If it's good, if it's part of what I want to say, then I'm going to say it. Like, I didn't work all this time to like be an artist and find my voice to then say like, but not that part of my voice.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I get that. And the, you know, we listened to, I think we went back to, was the first album Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Yeah. So we listened to the two previous albums and then
wow
song. So we've been listening.
Thank you.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know I want to talk about the new song, but I wanted to mention a couple that I liked. So there was I Looked Up at God. Love that. Ghost Town and No Words. Those were the three I really liked.
Oh wow, interesting.
They were all good, but those were the three
Those were the three. Well, Ghost Town and No Word, I mean, they all make sense to me if those are your thing. And I love that because those are very they're very deep songs for me. I mean, they're all deep when you write them, but like like I had a really deep experience around Ghost Town. And also, well, all of them really. I mean, that's interesting though that you listen to all the way through because I mean, Pennsylvania is really like indie folk rock, kind of straight up, right?
Yeah, it was a little different.
Yeah, but I feel like you can hear where I'm going to go. Agreed. Like when I listen to it now, which I don't that often, honestly, but when I do, like I can hear where I'm going on Love Never Dies. And then I can hear where I'm going. And I mean, you've heard a few of the songs, but there's more coming. So
Do you think has your music evolved from the first album to now?
yeah. Oh, I mean, certainly production wise, in the sense that I think uh I think on these new songs, the way the producer Barb Morrison and I worked, like we just went further with the kind of sounds I wanted to explore, because I think I was clearer about what I want to explore. Like I had great experiences recording the other two albums. 2010, I recorded with Jack Petrozelli, he came up playing with Joan Osborne, and he's played with Rufus Wainwright and Patti Smith. He was in Patti Smith's band for a while, which she's huge for me. So that was like, and
Yeah, he's so good.
so good. And then John Evans and I produced Love Never Dies together. And John Evans has been Tori Amos's bass player for over 20 years now, I think, and is a like a monster musician and a great person. But I think I'm clearer now about what I want to explore. So I think we went further with the kind of sounds I want to make. And I also think the songs were more conducive to the sounds. You know what I mean? Like as I've been writing over the years, my writing is a more direct expression of whatever it is I'm expressing in each song. And so then I think that makes the production process easier, because
I
the
get that
songs,
because you're kind of like you're writing them in a way that makes it easier to turn them into music now.
yeah, the song is telling us more clearly what it wants to be. Like Keith Richards says, like songs are like children, like they tell you what they want, and it's our job to just listen. So I think the songs are getting clearer about what they want to be.
I kind of like that.
Thanks.
Like it's I like it because it's like it's a journey. Like you're still discovering your sound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do, and the other thing I think about these new songs that I love, because, they came up in like the punk world of 80s New York.
Yeah.
But now as a producer, they've really embraced like modern pop production techniques.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think these songs are both the most raw my songs have ever been and the most produced. And that sounds like a contradiction.
It does.
But I think it's all true. And I'm really excited about that. Like, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see where that could be a good thing. And I like the fact that you're very connected to your music. It's meaningful to you. And I like that, because I don't think everybody is like that. Some people just put music out, but they don't, you can even tell it when they're singing it. They don't really have that connection to it. And I don't feel that way with yours. You can feel like you're connected to what you're singing. If that makes sense.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Do you play any instruments?
I do. So I started playing the piano when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't start learning guitar until I was like 30.
Yeah, that's
as a performer, I've played the guitar a lot more than the piano, because, for instance, I busked on the street for 5 years, and so it was just easier to play the guitar and learn.
Yeah, and carry that piano around.
I actually know someone who did busk out here on the Cape, and they would roll a piano out.
Wow.
And actually, he's still doing it. But no, I did not do that. And also so much of the popular music, when you're busking, the job is really to play cover songs. And so much of that music is guitar based that it's just a more direct translation to be playing the guitar.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Most of the time when you see street performers, they don't have a piano out there.
No, most of the time
they can handhold, guitar, violin sometimes.
Exactly. Exactly. So I play the guitar, I play the piano, I dabble with the ukulele a little.
You almost have to, don't you? It's like a rule. If you play guitar, you gotta at least play around with the ukulele.
And the ukulele is so fun. There's something really, really fun. Like it immediately, like you start playing the ukulele and like there's a very specific energy that it kind of brings out, you know? Yeah, it's just a
I
great
totally
song.
get it. And when I was growing up, my mother used to love to watch this variety show, Don Ho. I don't know if you remember Don Ho, but
I know the name, but I never
he
watched
had a
it.
variety show, and he always started the show playing a ukulele, and she loved that show, and it came on 11, 12 o'clock every day. So I still have those memories of her turning that show on, because every time she turned on, it was this, guy playing a ukulele on there. Still has meaning to me with that.
That's so cool. And in Canada, like in the US, I don't know if this is still true. Well, and some people want to gut all music education in schools.
Yeah.
Which if you get me going on that, we might never stop. But because I'm opinionated about it. But it used to be in the US that recorder was the instrument that all kids learned. And I don't know if that's still true, or partially because I don't know how much music education is happening, but in Canada, it's ukulele.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's still the recorder.
Oh yeah.
I was briefly, I played the recorder in say kindergarten, maybe first grade, but right around that time, and I was good enough to get into the all county chorus to play this, which I thought was great until I found out that the show night was the same night that I had a baseball game, so I immediately dropped recorder and went and played baseball, which ended my musical career before it even got started.
That's so such a
it's
in
like
the
6,
road
7
moment. I
years
mean, do you
old.
think that if you'd gone to all county and played recorder, like you'd still be making music today? Like,
No, there's no chance. I definitely made the right choice.
okay. All right. Because suddenly I was worried about your little
Oh, no.
artistic
Although I
self.
come from a very musical family, but it did not get to me. So
No.
no.
Did you ever have an urge aside from recorder?
Well, I took and my poor aunt, she tried to teach me piano lessons for a couple of years when I was younger, and all it did was frustrate both of us. And she tried. It just wasn't for me.
But I don't know if anyone should ever take music lessons from a relative.
See, I agree with that. I agree. And it definitely, she was so patient with me, but yeah, it's tough when it's a relative, because she probably wasn't as hard on me as she should have been to get me to do some of the stuff. And I probably didn't take it as serious as I should have, because it's family.
Right.
It was more playtime for me. So you've got a song coming out Friday.
I have a song coming out Friday. Water to Blood comes out Friday.
That's
Yes.
got to be kind of exciting to be able to say that. You've got a song coming out.
You know what? It is really exciting, actually. I'm really excited. And I'm a little like, like, like I'm a little amped up and
It's the anticipation has got to
the
be
anticipation and I took a long time recording these songs. So I have an album coming out in September, Watershed Synapse Experience.
I
And
love that name, by the way.
thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of nerdy.
I love that it's a little nerdy.
Nerdy, I love it.
What does it mean to you? I'm curious.
Well,
When you hear it, what happens?
that's a good question. So, yeah, I don't know. Synapse, I mean, yeah, that's obviously a brain function. We got our synapses fire to send us information. Watershed could be a big event. I don't know. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Well, okay, so first of all, I just need to say that I'm relieved. I'm happy that you like it without even fully having
Yeah,
an
it
idea.
just sounds cool to me.
Great. My work here is done. Maybe we should just leave it at that.
I
Doesn't
mean,
matter what it means to me.
looking back, down a few years down the road, do you shorten it to just the WSE album? Because
Who
it would lend
knows? We're
itself
gonna
to
find
an
out.
acronym.
Yeah. To me, it means those moments, and we get them very rarely in life, where our perception of something shifts like 1/100th of 1 degree, and yet it changes how we see everything.
I love that.
Oh,
Because we
cool.
have those moments just going through regular life.
Yeah,
We run into those moments where something changes, and it could be a very minor change, but it completely changed your perspective on something.
yeah, but somehow everything shifts.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What made you come up with that name? Because that wouldn't be something that just would spring to my mind, but I love it.
No, and it's not a reference to any particular song. Like there isn't a song called Watershed Synapse Experience. It's not a lyric on the album.
Yeah, I looked to see if you had anything on there. I was like, I wonder where that came from.
It sort of fell out of me one day.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about like a shift I was having, and I was like, it's so weird. It's like, blah, 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 blah. It's like a watershed synapse experience or something, like literally. And then I just was like, hey, wait. And then for a long
That's
time,
how
I mean,
my
I was
mind
like,
works with
that,
stuff. If you come up with something that sounds good, sometimes it just pops in your head and it has no meaning.
exactly.
And then you got to kind of figure out what the meaning is.
Exactly. And that was like 3 years ago. And for a year or two, I was like, okay, but are people really going to get this? Or like, is it, the album isn't done. Maybe some other title will emerge, but it didn't. And now we'll see if people get it.
I don't think it matters. I think they're going to like it regardless.
Well, thank you. I love that.
But you're going to have a bunch of people that think they get it. And then they'll have those little groups like, you can join this group, but you got to get it. You don't get it.
You know what? I would love nothing more than if people were like debating on Discord about what it really means. And the ones who saw this podcast will be like, no, I saw her on the podcast and she said it means blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, it also means what it means for people. You know what I mean? Like that's what it means for me. And that's part of why it has significance for me, but it can hold whatever energy other people need it to hold.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a good title that can do all that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you think so.
I'm sure that's the point of emphasis that'll put you over the top, is that I think it's a good title.
I feel like it's smooth sailing from here on in.
Oh yeah, easy. You probably don't even need to release it now. It's all good.
No, it's over. It's done. This is it.
We've killed it. So what's the name of the song coming out Friday?
Okay, so the song coming out Friday is called Water to Blood. And I wanted to release it this Friday because next Monday is Earth Day. And I'm calling it Climate Crisis Pop Anthem. That's what I'm calling it.
That's a nice name for something that's not great.
Right. Trying. Yeah, it really is an expression of my frustration about where we are environmentally and what clearly needs to be happening and what's not happening, and just to bring some of my opinionatedness, my frustration with like the corporate greed that is holding us back, because that's really what it is right now that's holding us back.
It's completely what it is, because
Yeah.
we obviously have alternative fuels that we could be using, and
No, and investing in, and I mean, you know,
fight against that.
we've been doing more of that in the last 4 years, but it's being obstructed as much as possible. So, you know, we just we have the ability to do the things we need to do, and some of them are happening, and the things that aren't happening are not happening because of corporate greed.
Well, yeah, because we've got a group of people that they don't care what happens in the future. They're just happy because they have money now. So they don't want to change anything. Let somebody else worry about that down the road. I'm not going to be here, so what's the difference? But it kind of screws the rest of us.
I don't understand.
I think a lot of us feel that way, you know, that because it's, we were talking off camera, the weather that we're having now is not normal. It's not, you know, it's not the weather that we grew up with. You know, it's almost like we went from 4 seasons down to about 2.5 or something. You know, the fall and spring are they're all over the place with the temperatures and the weather. And we get a lot more, like in West Virginia, we just had tornadoes come through. That's fairly rare for us, but we just, you know, had that occur. And I think that type of event's going to just keep getting worse and worse, unless we stop it.
I know. And yeah, we can't. I mean, my girlfriend was saying last year, so I was in New York City. I don't know how bad it got in West Virginia, but I was in New York City on that horrible wildfire day that was actually like 3 days, where the air was worse than Beijing. And I mean, it was terrifying. Like, it was so surreal. And that was from wildfires in Canada.
Yep.
And the wildfires were happening in Canada because they didn't get the snowpack.
Yeah.
You know, so and I mean, you know, in the song I say, like, it's time is here now. Like, it's not coming.
No, it's here.
It's here. And yeah, I mean, I feel like every year I try to do something to lessen my carbon footprint. And this year it's releasing this song. And hopefully, you know, I mean, there's so many people working so hard on this all the time.
Yeah.
And I have great respect for them. I mean, you know, I'm very passionate about wanting the world to be a better place and wanting people to be better to each other, and, you know, facing injustice and things like that. And yet at the end of the day, like, I am at my core like a writer and a performer. Like, it's not my path to spend all my time on those things. And I feel guilty about that sometimes. So it's actually a relief when something I write can be of service to that work.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me, because a lot of us, we're trying to find little things that we can do that, if it doesn't help, at least it's not hurting with that. And it's difficult. And I think if you can find something you're passionate about and use that as a way to kind of get the word out there, or to put a spotlight on it, that's pretty great.
But I want to say, I do think the little things make a difference. Like, just when it comes to the environment, like, so there is this frustration and this sense of, well, true, there is powerlessness over this corporate greed that is holding us back. But we've seen, for instance, in the last 5 to 10 years, like, the awareness around single-use plastic bottles of water. Like, so I'm on Cape Cod, and I think every town on the Cape has banned single-use bottles of unflavored, uncarbonated water.
Right.
So now, if you want a bottle of water that size, it's an aluminum can. And the truth is, aluminum is being recycled at a really high rate. It's easy to recycle. There's a market for it. Like, it is a truly recyclable product. Right. Plastic is not, at the end of the day, ever going to be fully recyclable.
No.
And the
No,
plastic
it sticks around forever.
it sticks around forever. It's hard to recycle. It's expensive to recycle. There isn't a good market for it. And the companies making plastic know this. And they still push recycling campaigns just to make people feel good about continuing to use plastic. That aside, when people start changing their behavior, then there isn't a demand for these products as much.
Right.
And it does make a difference. So, I mean, when I gave up single-use plastic bottles of water, which was actually after the BP oil spill, like I was so insanely mad that this oil was just spilling into the Gulf.
It was
like
bad.
And I was like, okay, no more single-use plastic bottles of water. And the truth is, I only used like 2 a week. And then I realized at the end of the year, that's 100 bottles.
Yeah, it adds up before you think about it.
It adds up. You know, so
yeah, and most of us are probably drinking at least a couple a day of some type of plastic.
Right. So if you're drinking 2 single-use bottles of plastic water a day, that is over 750. Is that right? Yeah. Like, no, like 730 bottles a year.
Yeah.
If you stop doing that, if you used a reusable bottle and filled it up at home, or if you like used an aluminum bottle, which will get recycled.
Seems like a lot. Seems like
It's a
it might make a
lot.
difference.
Also, and then we can get off the single-use plastic bottles of water, but it's actually a very powerful way to stop participating in a lot of different things. So the plastic is made from oil. So that whole toxic process.
Yep.
A lot of the companies bottling water, some of the companies bottling water are bottling water out of our national forests.
Really? Yeah, I didn't realize that, but I guess that makes sense.
Yes. And there have been people who've been trying to sue those companies to make that stop. And some of them have lost their lawsuits. And so there are water sources in national forests and parks that are being drained to sell water to us. Like it gets nutty. And then that water has to be transported, right? So it's pulled out of the earth, it's bottled, and then it's trucked or flown all over the place. Like the amount of energy and planetary resources that are used so that we can have a bottle of water in our hand, you can actually, it makes a really big difference to stop doing that.
I mean, the issue, I think, with a lot of that, and of course you could just use a reusable cup and it fixes a lot of it, is that our drinking water is not entirely safe throughout the country. You know, I know in West Virginia, we really struggle with certain areas of the state that just, you know, and it's our own doing, but the water's not really safe to drink. And then you're pushing yourself back toward plastic, where you have to make the conscious decision to use a cup that's renewable. Most people aren't going to make that decision because it's just easier to grab the bottle of water.
Well, and again, this is the corporate greed. It's like we've just been marketed that we get to have everything be as convenient as we want it to be at any moment without any consequences. And it's like we've been told that, and now our whole infrastructure and culture has been set up that way. Yeah. So it's very hard within that system to make different choices. It's been made difficult. I will say, I think there's progress being made. Like I see in airports, there are bottle refilling stations like that seems to be happening more. And there is a problem. I mean, part of what happens is that the Republicans don't want to spend money on infrastructure. So then water infrastructure does become unsafe in some places, which means that bottled water becomes a necessity. Like there still isn't clean drinking water in Flint, Michigan, as far as I know.
I know, and it's been several years now.
It's been a lot of years.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So it can feel really frustrating, and there are, you know, obstacles, and then that's where we have to, you know, be doing the work of pushing the companies and pushing our representatives to take more responsibility and to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's daunting, but it's going to stay daunting till we actually try to fix it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So my song,
Yeah. Water the Blood comes out Friday.
Water to Blood comes out Friday, and it really is, I mean, part of what I'm happy about with it, and again, this was, partially the genius of Barb Morrison, the producer, and Jeremy Kinney, the engineer, but I mean, there is this kind of serious, dire message in it, and then hopefully the vibe of it is kind of motivational or inspiring. It's like an almost dance song.
Yeah.
So it's like the idea is that it'll like get you up and get you ready to like do the next thing, whatever that is for each person.
I love that. Yeah, and it does have a little energy to it. It's a foot mover.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's the idea.
Do you, when you're writing, do you sit down thinking, I'm going to write a song, about social change or whatever it is? Or, and so then you do it, or is it something that inspires you and then you write?
I do a lot of free form writing.
Okay.
I do a lot of like just putting the pen on the page and writing whatever comes out. And most of that is crap and gets thrown away, which is fine. But just kind of letting words happen, sometimes something comes up in such a way that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna work on this or try to write that. And I've recorded songs that happen that way, but a lot of the songs I've written, I guess it's a combination of, there are the issues I'm thinking about or the feelings I'm thinking about. Because if it's not, like a lot of my stuff is heartbreak stuff, sort of like heartbreak, what are we doing here? Or now like political stuff. Like those are probably like my three main subjects. And so then like some phrase will tumble out like watershed synapse experience or something. And then I'll be like, oh, that phrase relates to this thing. Yeah. And then I'll consciously start editing it. I am a big editor. It's not like, oh, I don't believe in editing. I just let it come and that's the way it's meant to be. No.
Yeah.
No.
You gotta edit.
Sorry?
You have to edit.
Have to edit. So I guess it's a combination because I do have things I know I want to say, but I rarely sit down and then say like, I'm going to say it this way. I sort of let myself just kind of go all over the place for a while and see what comes out.
I could see where that would lead itself to the creative process, just kind of letting it flow, just see where it goes.
Yeah. I like to leave as many doors open as possible.
Yeah. Well, Anne, thank you for taking a little bit of time. This has been great. I knew it was going to be. When you get the album out, you'll have to come back.
I would love to come back. This has been so much fun. I really love talking to you, and thanks so much for having me on and talking about the song.
Of course. Yeah, the music's great. And your voice is so good. We enjoyed it. My wife put it on her playlist, so we'll be listening to you a lot. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Next time I talk to you, I'll be able to tell you what artists are similar to yours because they're playing on your channel.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. Hey, I'm curious, where do you listen to music? What platform?
So it's all on my wife because most of the time I'm listening more to sports type of things or podcasts if I'm listening. So she's let's see, she's got Spotify and what's the other one that starts with a P?
Oh, Pandora.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where she listens to the majority of her stuff.
Got it. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Thank her. I'm so glad she likes it. It's really nice to connect with you.
Oh yeah, this has been terrific. So we've got the album coming out in September.
Yes.
The song is Water to Blood. It's out Friday. Where can we find your music and where can we find you on social media?
So I'm the Anne Stott everywhere.
I
So
love the. I
thank
always
you.
say that. I was like, I should have put the on there. It makes it a little classier.
You know what? It was necessity because when I'm a late adapter with things, like I'm never, especially with technology, like I am the last to adapt the things. And so when I went on Instagram, there was already an Anne Stott. My name was taken, and it was by someone with no profile picture who'd never posted, but it was taken.
Yep, that's what happens.
So I was like, what do I do? And then these friends I have who used to work in marketing were like, the Anne Stott. And then once I did it, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it works.
So that's my website too. And so theannestott.com, THEANNE.
You got a really good website, by the way. It's well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So on there, there'll be links to the song everywhere, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, Tidal, all the places. And then on social media, I'm the Anne Stott everywhere as well.
Yeah, you come right up.
Oh, good.
Yeah. If you put in Anne Stott, you come up. It's good.
You know what I found out? I haven't been on Twitter in a while because I just can't take it anymore. It's really sad that one person can ruin a whole platform, but one person can ruin a whole platform. Now we know. But there's an Anne Stott, spelled just like me, in England, and she's a historian of Victorian women. She's read a couple books. Sometimes I feel guilty that I mark it so much. So, her books are on page 3.
No, it does sound like someone that would be working with something Victorian.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm still glad I come right up.
That's right. Yeah. You were the first one that came up.
Cool. Good.
Because I've tried me. You put in Michael Wall, there's like a zillion that come
Oh,
up.
there would be, wouldn't there?
There's so many. So many.
Oh, yeah. And Stott is kind of an unusual name. I think my father told me about this. I think there are only like 30,000 Stotts in the world or something.
Yeah, it's not very many.
No, there's a real estate broker in Hawaii though. If you're ever in that game.
Maybe you're related.
We probably are because there's so few of us, honestly. Somewhere back there.
Well, and open invitation. When you're ready, you just reach out and we'll get you back on.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun chatting.
It has.
Look forward to talking again.
Me too. Okay, hold on one second. The talented Anne Stott. Hope you enjoyed that. Her voice is amazing. Absolutely love her as a singer. The song is Water to Blood. It comes out Friday. Please make sure that you support Anne. Listen to the song. So much more we could all do to affect positively climate change. So Anne's doing her part. Let's do our part. Make sure we listen to the music. The album Watershed Synapse Experience, I think Watershed Synapse Experience should be out in September. So keep your eye out for that. Our website is meistercon.com. Our YouTube channel is meisterconpod. Please subscribe. That would really help us out. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm once again here to ask for your support. It's been a big year for the Too Opinionated podcast. Back in February, we got to live out a dream, moderate for William Shatner here in our hometown. In May, we passed 100,000 downloads on our YouTube channel, and we followed that up in June with 50,000 downloads on the audio side. We recently posted our 600th episode, which is pretty good volume for just a father and son operation. Not too many podcasts can keep that volume up. We've been doing this now for 4.5 years, 600 plus episodes. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is a really big deal for us because we've always gotten the views, but have struggled to get people to subscribe. So that 1,000 was a big deal for us. And best of all, we were recently named one of the top podcasts on IMDb, which is the entertainment database. Those that are ahead of us, we came in at number 82. Those that are ahead of us are bigger companies like Disney, mostly Marvel, and Joe Rogan, that type of podcast. So for us, being just a small West Virginia father and son podcast, to be in the top 100 out of 15 million, it's a pretty big deal for us. So thank you for everything you've done for us so far. Got a couple little ways, though, that you can help us, and they're free and they're really easy. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, please go to YouTube. It's under MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, really helps us a ton. And maybe even more important, if you could go to imdb.com, look up the Too Opinionated podcast, and just look around the page. Just having that traffic on the page really helps us out. So that's a couple easy ways that you can support us, even if you're not listening or watching all of the time. And we want you to listen and watch, because I think that our guest list, I would put up against anybody, any other show, podcast, anybody out there. I think our guest list holds up. So please check us out. You probably will find somebody that you like, or maybe somebody that you didn't know you liked, but kind of discovered them on there. There's tons of that. If you're into music, we have that too. If you like books, we've got authors on there. If you're more into what goes on behind the scenes in the entertainment world, we've got producers, directors, video artists, anything you can think of that happens behind the scenes, we've had them on the show. So definitely check us out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.